says 22
Oh, we
participants.
do have 9. Okay.
Okay.
Brian, are you ready?
It is just starting.
Okay. You tell me when it can start.
Looks good.
Okay. Welcome everyone to the Western Wayne School District Board of Education meeting for June of 2020. This meeting is being recorded and we have a public comment email address for anyone who has questions that they would like to ask during the public comment section of the board meeting. Bernice, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Welcome everyone to the Wednesday, June 10th board meeting. I'd like to call this to order. If we could have a prayer and then followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Heavenly Father, as we enter the end of our season of school, Lord, I just pray that you will be with our students, keep them safe. I also pray that you will be with our seniors as they begin their new journey, Lord. We ask this in your holy name. Amen. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One nation.
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
And justice for all.
liberty and justice for all. Okay, could I please have roll call, Miss Emmett?
Mrs. Fiorella,
Here.
Mr. Hoke,
Here.
Mr. Gogolski,
Here.
Mrs. DeCiato,
Here.
Mr. Enslin,
Here.
Mr. Gershi,
Here.
Mr. Gambita,
Here.
Mr. Auckland,
Here.
Mr. Wood,
Here.
Attorney Meir, don't think I saw him
Yeah, I don't. He's not in
sign in
attendance.
yet. Okay. Dr. Barrett,
Here.
Dr. LaRosa,
Here.
and Ms. Emmett is also here. All other administrators are on the call but are excused from the official meeting. Just a reminder before we get started with the agenda items, I will turn the screen over to the agenda in just 1 second. But just a reminder that if you're making a motion or seconding or speaking, if you would please just repeat your name first when you first unmute your mic, just so everyone knows who's talking. Thank you.
Okay, so if we're ready, we're good? Okay,
Good.
if we could have a motion for number 5.
I will move that we approve this bill, Gershi. I move that we approve the minutes of several board meetings, the work session held on May 6th, 2020, the regular board meeting held on May 6th, 2020, the special meeting for the presentation of the narrative budget, which was held May 13th, 2020, and the special meeting for the adoption of the 2020-2021 tentative budget and general purposes, which was held on May the 20th, 2020.
I'll second that.
Who was that?
I'm sorry, it was Rick Hogue.
Okay, thanks, Rick. Sorry, I couldn't hear it. The motion was made by
I'm
Mr.
having
Gershi and then
trouble
seconded by
with
Mr.
audio
Hogue.
on
Any
my end,
questions
but-
or? Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay, all those that approve say aye. Aye.
Aye.
This is- Any opposed, say no. And any abstaining? Okay, that motion does pass. Could I have a motion for number 6?
Jeff Gogolski makes the motion to accept the treasurer's reports from the general and food service accounts.
Ethan Wood, I'll second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. And any abstaining? Okay, that motion does pass. I think we'll do the next one the same way. And then it may be easier after the recognition of the public to go ahead and just block them all if we can, because we just did this last week. And I think it may be too hard to read all through them and hear all the ayes and noes. Does anybody have any questions if we do that or opposed to that? Is everyone good with that if we do a block vote
Yes.
Yes.
after number
Yeah.
7?
I'm okay. Yes.
Dana, what do you think?
Yep, it's good.
Joe?
Yes.
Okay. Mike, are you good with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and who else? Mr. Ensland, Gary, are you okay with that if we do it all in a block?
Yes.
Okay, great. So after the approval of bills, can I have a motion for 7, please?
Jeff Gogolski makes the motion for the approval of bills from the general, food service, and construction accounts.
Ethan Wood, I'll second that one.
Okay, that motion was made by Mr. Gogolski and then seconded by Mr. Wood. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. And any abstaining? Okay, that motion does pass. Rose, do we have any thing from the public?
We do. I have one question that came in. I'll read the question. The official government website lists the ESSER allocation per CARES Act for Western Wayne School District at $349,148. Also posted is the governor's 2021 education budget. Our allocation will be identical to the 2019-20 education budget. With confirmed allocations from Harrisburg, ESSER, will the Western Wayne Board still require residents to pay a tax increase? And the second part of that question is, can't the board show special consideration during a pandemic and terrible civil unrest?
Rose, is it?
Okay,
Rose, this
Go
is
ahead, Bill.
Murphy. I just wondered, is it possible to identify the person who asked the question for the public record?
Absolutely. This email is from Amanda Johnson.
Okay. Thank you.
Rose, do you want to discuss a little bit about our conversations pertaining to the CARES Act and how those funds should not be used to supplant any current funds that we have? But
Yes. I can do that. So we did receive the 349, or we will be receiving the 349,000 from the CARES Act. It is a federal grant that is coming to us, and it has been confirmed that we will be receiving the money. I know earlier in April and early May when we talked about it, it was still in the planning and the thought phase that it wasn't guaranteed, but that is coming through. The one thing that is a stipulation of that money is the money needs to be spent specifically on COVID-19 related expenses for us to purchase personal protective equipment, to outfit any of our buildings that may need some changes because of the social distancing we may be required to implement in the fall. And it also can be used for technology-based purposes for us to assist us in distance learning if that's the route that we need to take in the fall. Unfortunately, this money cannot be used towards our regular general budget. We can't use the 349,000 to supplant our current expenditures, whether it be for salaries, benefits, everyday expenditures that we have right now.
thank you, Rose. And
thank
just
you, Rose. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Matt, I'm sorry.
Just to inform the board administratively, we were discussing working towards a one-to-one initiative where each student would be provided with technology, either laptop, iPad, something that, depending on what grade level they're at, they would be able to utilize both in school and at home. So much of the funds we're considering going towards that initiative. And then again, we have the safety procedures and protocols that have to be implemented as a result. So we're also going to allocate those funds towards those measures.
Thanks, Matt. Rose, would you also be able to give the exact number of our deficit for Ms. Johnson at this time? It is 1 point, I believe, what is it, 6?
What are we talking, from the tentative budget that was approved?
From the budget, yes, please.
Okay,
Yes,
sure.
please.
So the tentative budget that was passed on May 20th it called for an increase in taxes of 1.75% in property taxes. And even with that increase in taxes, it was still using $1.3 million of our fund balance to cover the expenditures of the budget.
So at some point, we have to
Okay.
make up not only the $1.3 million that we're taking out of fund balance, we also have to, it's going to compound. So there's no easy way to not increase taxes and not have very large increases in the near future.
Thank you, Rick. Okay, great. Thank you for that, Rose, also. I appreciate that. Mr. Gershi, do you want to, at this point, Rose, do we have any other public comment?
No, that is
Or
the
is
only
that
thing that
it?
has come in so far. That's it for now.
Okay, good. So Matt, we are going to go ahead and block these, if that's okay with you.
Bernice, I have a question on this
Okay.
blocking.
Yep, go for it.
This is Gary Enslin. Unfortunately, I don't see where I received an agenda. And I can't read through on this. Now, what new teachers are we voting for on this block?
Gary, this is Bill Gershi.
Yes.
What we could do is we can make a motion to approve all of the items except the ones that you would like further information on.
The only one I'm really interested in
Or we
is
could
the one
talk
that,
about now.
the one that we've been discussing. That would be the teacher and.
Yeah, that is not on, Gary.
That is not on? Okay, then I'm fine. You can block it off.
That
Okay.
is not.
There is
Right, that
there
is
an
not on.
appointment of a temporary professional employee, which is for
Yes,
the early intervention services. I did pull that up on the screen for right now.
That number, what, because I can't see the numbers.
It's
26,
26E.
D and E.
26, yeah, 26. D.
Yeah, D and E. You can't quite, yeah, that's it. D and E, right. 26 D and E, which is
He is the one that we talked about
Marissa Ferraro and
at the last
Jennifer
meeting.
Nikishka. Pardon me?
He was the one that
Correct.
we talked about at the last meeting. That was the one.
That is a new position and that is not on the agenda. Correct. It is not on the agenda.
So that one is eliminated then. We
This
should,
is the one that's on the agenda. These are not new positions. These are replacements for retirees. Just to clarify.
Correct.
I'm fine with those.
okay.
Okay, great. Then
Are there any
we can
others?
move forward.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Gary, for double checking. Okay, so then we will do, since we just went over this agenda, Bill, if you would do it all the way to 26F, and that is everything that was at the work session that was discussed
Yes.
and nothing new has been added to the agenda.
Yes, at the work session, we went over it. That's available. People could look at that on YouTube, I guess, right? So they can access it that way. And I believe access this agenda online as well, correct? The current agenda? So with
Correct,
that in
that's on the
mind,
website.
Okay.
our website right now.
Right. So with that in mind, I'll make a motion that we have a block consent for items numbers 9 through 26 inclusive.
I'll second the motion. This is Rick Hope.
Okay, the motion was made by Mr. Gershi to do a block from 9 through 26. It was then seconded by Mr. Hoke. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Or if you wanted to withhold any item, now is the time to say so. Any item for further
Okay,
discussion?
hearing none. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Okay, any abstaining? Okay, those all pass. We do have some information for you on number 27. We would like to say to Chelsea Fraser and Susan Larkin, they have obtained tenure in the Western Wayne School District, so we would like to congratulate them on that. We also have a student intern from Marywood University, Ryan Samsell, and he will be in the Robert D. Wilson Guidance Department. We also have Eastern University, Will Jonas, a student teacher, and that will also be at Robert D. Wilson from September to December with Julia Farley. We do have some important dates. June 12th is the last day of school, and June 12th will also be graduation. Any information on the correspondence or superintendent's reports? The assistant superintendent's report or the principal's report? Any federal programs to report? Any other business?
Bernice, if I may, for other business, we did receive word today from PDE and PIAA that we may allow athletic practices and other gatherings to occur. I did email a athletic health and safety plan that Mr. Black put together for the board. Now, the stipulation is it has to be board approved. And I know, again, we just received word today that this would be allowable. But Bob has been working on a plan with the thought that it was going to go in that direction. So he did put that together. So it outlines specific parameters that the coaches have to work in. And at this point, the sessions are voluntary. So formal practices cannot take place until August, but we would be allowing our athletes access to the facilities, the fields, as well as the weight room and the gymnasium. As well, I believe it covers band as well. So band would be able to practice socially distanced on the facility. I understand if everybody would like time to review that before a vote, but if somebody is willing to make a motion this evening, we would be allowed to have our students participate as early as Monday. Or
Make the motion.
Even by the end of the week.
Matt, could we add that to our June 24th, just so to go over all of that? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Matt. Could we hold that off till June 24th to go over that, since nobody has seen any of that information? Can we do that?
Yes, we can.
I'm sorry. Can we authorize it pending review for a final vote on the 24th? Is that possible?
Hold on. Sorry, Rick, I couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry. I'm on a school laptop. Can we authorize it pending review and have until the 24th and then do a final vote? Can we do a temporary authorization so they can get started if they wish?
Bernice, I read over the guidelines, and honestly, to get some kids out there, specifically since baseball, track, softball have lost their seasons, and there still is an opportunity to get them back on the field possibly. Waiting 2 more weeks just sort of pushes that back. I would prefer it be sooner than 2 weeks from now if we could.
Denise,
Well, my only, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm okay with the, I read the Blacks guidelines. I'm fine. I mean, the Little League's going to start up and, you know, with all this protest and that they're not abiding by social distancing, I think we're fine. So I'm okay with approving it.
And Bernice, if I may, it does follow all CDC guidelines as well as take the recommendations from the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, which is what PIAA put out. And it does require deep cleaning, sanitation, social distancing, et cetera, and restricts amount of individuals in a given space so that they're still able to distance, and we would put those parameters in place effective immediately. And I hate throwing this in there the last minute, but as Jeff was just saying, it would assist those athletes and kind of give them an opportunity to get back in the groove safely and monitored. So they do have charts that they have to fill out daily, et cetera. And again, if you want to hold off, I completely understand.
I just have a couple of questions.
Sure. And I'm sorry.
I just have go ahead.
Brian, can we get Bob Black to speak, or because he is an attendee, he can't?
No, I think I'll get him.
Okay. So Bernice, just to
Matt,
be more
is Wayne Highlands and Walnut Pawpack doing this as well? My only concern is that it's rushing and not putting it, I mean, I haven't seen any of it.
I understand.
And not that you need my approval. It's just, are we just rushing it to get them in so they can practice on Monday or whatever day?
Well,
That's my only
voluntary.
thoughts. And how is that going to affect?
3 months into this with very few cases in Wayne County in the last several weeks, I don't think we're rushing allowing the student athletes to get started up again.
Plus we're in green, aren't we? So technically we're okay with the gatherings.
So starting Friday,
Friday.
we will be,
Yeah.
but Bernice, these are currently voluntary and not mandatory practices. Again, and we set up a schedule. It would be restricted still and limited to certain spaces.
So who's responsible for cleaning and what training, have the coaches been notified of what their requirement is?
Well, all coaches will have to be trained prior to any workouts or sessions being implemented.
So if this is approved, then is it more so for the coaches to come in on Monday to be trained versus the actual students participating on Monday?
So, Dr. Barrett, I'm on.
Oh, you're on, Bob. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I lost Wi-Fi for a second. So the intent is to get the coaches on a Zoom as soon as possible. Of course, as soon as PIAA put this information out today, social media has been blowing up, and of course my phone as well. Not only with the coaches asking, but the kids really want to get out of the house and get back to some type of routine. So the coaches, we would walk through the measures that are in place. Most of them by this time are pretty familiar with, we've been dealing with this COVID for 2.5 months, 3 months. So most of them are familiar with it. And then I already talked to Joe Dunda about having as far as like the supplies, for each of the areas and for the coaches to use for the sanitation. I also spoke with our strength and conditioning coach, and he's aware of it. And he's also aware, because he owns a gym, he's aware of the sanitation policies and procedures that have to be followed. So it won't take much to get through. I've also been talking with Elaine Ort. I sent her stuff a couple of weeks ago about disinfecting instruments and the recommendations from the National Federation for high school sports on band, which it falls under that umbrella. So I've been in communication with the coaches, but again, like Dr. Bear said, if anybody feels uncomfortable, certainly we can wait, but everybody's really itching to go. I know, and I think it'd be a good thing for the community as well.
Hey, this is
Mr.
Joe
Black.
Reed. I just had a quick question myself. So if this happens and somebody is to get sick, is there any way repercussions could come back against the school, meaning lawsuits or anything like that? Has that been looked at, or is that out of the question? I'm just like all of us would just want to make sure.
Not that I'm aware of, and there are protocols. The introduction, of course, gives the disclaimer, things change, and with COVID, it is asymptomatic. So there are going to be people that don't have symptoms that could potentially have the coronavirus. However, we're going to take every measure that we can.
Sure.
If one of the athletes does come down with it, there is a protocol you'll see towards the end of the document as far as isolating and then providing tracing, following the CDC and Pennsylvania Department of Health guidelines on tracking others that came in contact. So we'll be following all of the guidelines right through if someone ends up getting sick, which I hope doesn't happen.
This is Mike Auckland. Brian, is there any way you could show Bob's document on here so we all can review it and go through it?
I could, if I can make him a co-host and he can share it out if he wants. I don't have a copy of it.
Okay. Is that okay with everybody else?
Because I haven't seen it, so
I haven't either.
that makes it difficult for me to vote on that.
I have one more question to throw in there too. Has it been reviewed legally and does it need to be? This is Rose, sorry.
So well, going back, this is, and again, the idea is not to circumvent the law or anybody's authority, and certainly not the school board's authority. I wouldn't want to do that. I just want to be able to give, I want to be able to, the people are going to come to me and say, the state and PIAA have said we can begin training, and I'm going to have to tell them, well, we have to wait until June 25th, which I don't have a problem doing. So I don't have a problem with that. I just, again, there won't be much that changes other than if you want to send it to Mr. Muir and have him look it over.
I was going to mention. This is Bill. I was going to suggest that maybe we should have Attorney Muir consulted tomorrow and ask him some of these questions. And if we get positive responses from him, then you can proceed.
So this is Ethan Wood. Can we go along with what Rick suggested and pass this guidance tonight and then revisit it in 2 weeks when we're at our budget meeting? From what I can tell, and I've pulled up the document and looked at it. It's in our email. It came today. I've been reviewing it since we've been discussing it, and it looks pretty comprehensive to me. I do think we should at least examine the legal ramifications, but in the meantime, it seems like something that would be helpful if we passed it. And reviewing it, there's nothing that screams out to me, this is irresponsible.
Ethan, this is Paul Gregorski, if you can hear me, just to jump in. In talking with Bob Black today also, and I think this echoes what Bernice said earlier. What are other school districts doing? The information that I got from Mr. Black was at the earliest chance they get at their scheduled board meeting, because the guidance was, so comprehensive, that they were going to do what they could to get it passed, to get their kids acclimated, and then obviously probably have to review and or tweak some things as they went along. And I think, what Mr. Hoke said, was probably a nice understanding there, because realistically, and how we've been through this whole process, there may be some adjustments that occur, as there have been throughout the process, but at least it gives us some flexibility, to make sure that we're prepared and to not have, our student athletes, fall behind in any way.
So if I can, I'd like to make that motion that we give temporary approval pending further review for final vote at the 24th on the meeting on the 24th of June.
So Brian just pulled it up.
Can I just ask one question before we start? Does this go along with the school's plan for safety in place? So we're on the same page with that.
This is voluntary, correct?
This is voluntary, yes.
Sorry, what's that?
It will align with what we're doing, because we do have to follow the guidelines that are set forth. And in typical fashion, we get one notice from the state that we have to do a school-wide plan, which we'll be working on over the next few weeks at least. And then they throw this at us today, and this also says it needs to be board approved, but we want to make sure that we're following the guidelines and incorporating that into the greater school plan.
Is my motion on the table, and it is at this point, or no?
Yeah,
I'll second that motion.
according to Robert's rules, you've got a live motion. We're waiting for a second. If there's no second,
Mike Aquilini.
Yeah,
it would die, right?
And this is temporary approval for the plan as we're reading it right now, pending further review until a final vote, potentially on June 24th.
So where does this leave the coaches if between now and then? Are they going to be allowed by given temporary approval? Where does that leave them?
Well, if I could jump back in, this is Mr. Black. If we can get Mr. Muir to look at it tomorrow, we can hold off and at least it's okay. I mean, if that's part of the motion, you know what I'm saying? So the motion would say.
I can add that to the motion.
And then if he has problems with it, we won't do it, or we can adjust whatever language he has. But I can tell you this, that the 500 school districts within the state of Pennsylvania that have high school programs, and then all the charter schools, et cetera, and private schools, they're all running off the same documents that I am. And it's going to be all basically the same information. And the state even said that, the local districts, everything's going to look different because of the situations in each area. So Lackawanna County, the city schools, it's going to look, theirs, I would imagine, would be different than ours because of the distancing and the less population of athletes, et cetera.
This is Cindy LaRosa. I think the question that we have to ask Attorney Muir is this a standalone document, or the schools that are resuming sports, has their health and safety plan already been approved? Or is this document a standalone document?
Cindy, can you go in a little more with that? Into detail a little bit more?
Right. So this was the first time, Mr. Black is right, that today this document was released. In previous discussions, the health and safety plan was presented and districts received a template, it's rather comprehensive, but it requires us to identify a pandemic committee and requires us to complete this document addressing several areas prior to any face-to-face, whether it's academic or non-instructional with students. So I guess the question to Attorney Mir is, would the district be under any sort of liability if they were to use this document and proceed with sports before the district has the opportunity to complete and have that document board approved?
That's exactly what I was saying before. As long as that's the case, as far as I'm concerned, it's good to go. So if you were talking about having them meet on Monday, today's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, maybe we could have something back from Matt, and that's how I feel about it. If he's good with it, I feel I'm good with it.
Okay, so I'll add into their pending review from our solicitor.
That's Gary Enslin. I'll second Mr. Hulk's motion.
Okay. All right, the motion has been made and seconded. Any more questions or comments? Okay, I would just like to say, unfortunately, I have not read this document. I don't know what time it was sent out. I checked before 5. I have not even seen any of this. So at this time, before I read through it, I just cannot say yes to something I have not read. So unfortunately, at that point, I will be a no. And that's just, I can't agree to something that I have not even read. So that's me. But anybody else?
I received it, Bernice, at 4:24, and it's about 2 pages long. It's not too lengthy, so whenever you have time, of course, look at it.
Oh, I'll read it, but at this point, we're taking a vote. I haven't read it, so I can't agree to it.
This is Bill.
So that's just the point where I'm at.
This is Bill. It's on the screen and I did read it. And as was mentioned before by someone, it does look like it's pretty comprehensive.
Okay, so
again, I do apologize for bringing this up last minute. We did receive it last minute. We just want to make sure that
I understand everybody wants to get back to sports 100%, but for it to be put out at 4:24 and now we all have to agree to something that, yes, you may have it down, but I have not read it, a paragraph here while we're talking and discussing. So I just can't agree to it and I apologize. But to me, this is something that really needs to be lined up all the way through the school because it can come back with ramifications. And I hope Matt Mir does okay it, and I think that's great. But again,
guys,
I haven't read it, so that's why I'm voting no.
Jeff Gogolski here. I just texted Attorney Mir. He's logging in as we speak. So he might be able to just jump in, give his 2 cents. He thought it was at 7 this evening. So he probably will be with us momentarily.
That sounds like a good idea.
Well, it's up to you. If he reads through it, I still would like to read it and I haven't had the opportunity to do that. So if you guys, we can go ahead and take the head vote, I'm fine. And then we'll just wait for him to
Why don't we wait and see what Attorney Mir says? In that interim, you could read it, Bernice. It's on the.
That would be great, Bill. Thank you.
He may need time to read it as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So we'll give it a few minutes till Matt can.
Hey, I'm here. Sorry about that, folks.
It's okay, Matt.
Can I bring Attorney Mir up to speed, or does somebody else want to do it?
So
go ahead again, Rick.
We're reviewing the guidance for sports to resume the voluntary related activities.
Yep, I'm
that Mr. Black has prepared. And we just got it right before the meeting, so I guess what I made a motion to do was do a temporary approval until we had a little better chance to look it over, until so the kids can get started until the June 24th meeting, pending your review as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, because I believe we have a meeting in 2 weeks, right? 14 days?
Yes, 24th.
Yeah. So this is the first time I'm seeing it too, so I think it'd be a good idea for me to review it. I'll also probably reach out to some of the other solicitors at the local school districts. I'm assuming that this is coming somewhat from PIAA in the state, right? And we're just making it into our own. Is that accurate, Matt?
That's correct.
Okay.
So that's exactly it. We received this earlier today. Bob worked on it throughout the day to make it fit Western Wayne. And then knowing we had the board meeting tonight, figured we'd bring it up tonight to discuss. So.
I would be more apprehensive if the cases weren't so limited, but since our cases total for this whole 3-month period are, I believe, stand right in the neighborhood of 120 with 52,000 people in the county, I just don't see the need to hold off. Although I don't disagree that Mr. Muir, if he may have any changes that need to be made, or as Dr. LaRosa said, make sure we're following the protocols the state are laying out as to whether it have to be part of a larger plan.
Rick, I don't think the numbers really per se have anything to do with this. I think where I'm a little concerned is I have 2 administrations that came forward, administrators that have a concern with it. So there has to be some concern somewhere. And so that's why I would really like it to be looked over before we move forward. That's my opinion. When you have 2 administrators asking questions that are very good questions, maybe we should look into it.
Oh, absolutely. I don't mind looking into it.
And Bernice, none of this will be put into effect until we do get that clearance and guidance from Attorney Muir as well.
And Matt, I understand that, but you know, unfortunately, I have not seen or heard of this until 10 minutes ago. And yes, I could read through this, but unfortunately, it's not scrolling down for me. It's all of this. And now I'm in a spot where I have to approve something that I've never read. And I don't think that's fair. But that's just me. I mean, I'm not.
This is Matt Muir. What would actually start between now and June 24th?
Sorry, I had difficulty hearing that.
Primarily the training for the coaches, for sure.
Okay, but is there going to be any sports programs beginning or anything taking place between June 10th and June 24th?
Matt, do you mean, Jeff Gogolski here, do you mean like competitive or practice?
Practice, training, weightlifting?
Well, I would think and again, the spring sports lost their season. And
Right.
I know those sports are chomping at the bit to get out there. And my guess is they'll want to be out there before the 24th and possibly be coordinating games between or competition between some of the other schools in leading up to that. So I think to get them ahead of the game, that's something that probably would be pushing to do before the 24th.
Okay.
We also, this is Bill Gershie. We also have a motion on the floor that was seconded. And what did the motion actually say? Was it tentative, or in other words, maybe that ought to be reconsidered?
Yeah, the motion.
All this.
Bill, my motion, I think, would be to temporarily proceed with this pending review from legal as well as any other interested parties here in administration, until the 24th where we could have a final vote.
Considering what Mrs. LaRosa said, correct? In other words,
Yes. Also considering whether it needs to be part of a larger plan.
I don't know. So what does the motion actually mean?
Okay,
How
I'm
long-
just trying to write that down.
In other words, if this is temporary, you used the word temporary, didn't you? So what does it, what would happen? What goes into effect when, and what has to happen to make it go into effect before the 24th? I guess is the question. Who would have to do what?
Well, this is Matt Meir, but from what I'm gathering here, it sounds like starting, if it was approved and voted on tonight, contingent upon my review, that I think Rick's motion was that you would move forward under these guidelines and allow programming, I guess, to begin under these guidelines tomorrow, if it's approved, with everybody under the understanding that at the 24th meeting, this could all be adjusted.
Yes, sir.
Or
I just had a quick question. Is there a reason why we have to wait till the 24th? I mean, I understand that's the meeting, but if you have a chance to look at this, Matt, in the next day or two, can we all get back before then? Is that a possibility? And Bernice would have a day or two to read it. Why do we have to wait till the 24th? Could we do it
You could have
on the 15th or whatever?
You're saying we could have a special meeting or something too?
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
as long as you comply with the advertising requirements you have to have a public meeting, obviously, and you have to advertise.
Right, and I think that's additional, unnecessary.
Okay.
And is that 24 hours notice for a special meeting?
Correct.
That's okay. That was my memory of it. So we could potentially do it on like Monday.
Absolutely.
And adopt this. I would actually be in favor of going in that direction because it would give us some time to review it and make sure that we're doing this correctly and would not push back any practices very far.
We were talking Monday from the start, I believe Mr. Black said. So, realistically, if it's Tuesday, that's only a day. It's not 2 weeks, which to me, 2 weeks is a big deal. Another day, okay, I could deal with that.
So that's a compromise.
If everybody's okay, that was just a suggestion.
Okay.
Well, technically, then we have a motion on the floor that's been seconded, and we either have to vote on it or it has to be withdrawn by the maker of the motion, I believe.
Yes.
Yes, Mrs. Fiorello, are you okay with something to that that they're discussing before I withdraw?
To have it on Monday or Tuesday, so we
Yes.
can further review?
Yes.
Yeah, I would really like to read it. I just think that's in my best interest before I say yes to it, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is Matt Meir. It sounds to me like we should really hold a special meeting for this purpose to address this issue on Monday, I would think. And any other general business can always come before the board, but it would sound to me that would give everybody an opportunity to digest this and take a look at it. I mean, I'm just scrolling through here a little bit. The key to all of this is how it's rolled out through the coaches, through the administration, through the athletic director to the coaches who are going to be monitoring this stuff on a daily, they're the ones going to be in the room to make.
Also, relative to what Mrs. LaRosa said, we're supposed to have a plan in place relative to COVID, which we don't have yet, correct? So it has to be done in synchronization with that. Is that correct?
What I read,
I think that would probably be in the best interest.
this should be under that umbrella. It doesn't say it has to be a part of it, but as far as I read, this is a kind of a separate document, but it should align with what we're doing
Right.
systematically.
And if Dr. LaRosa can, or Dr. Barrett can discuss that with Attorney Meir and just make sure that it doesn't have, that it can be a standalone, or if it's a moot point, then we'd have to wait until you're ready.
Right.
So I will withdraw my motion pending a special meeting.
On Monday, or did we say Tuesday?
Either Monday or Tuesday.
Okay. Monday's fine, and it's up to Matt Meir to get back, and then we'll decide if it's Monday or Tuesday. But I think that would just be the best route to take to make sure we're doing what we need to do.
Yeah, this is Matt Meir. I'll plan to have a conference call with Dr. Barrett and Dr. LaRosa there in the next day or two.
Just for meeting purposes, I would need
That
to
would be
know by
great. Thanks.
tomorrow noon to get it advertised in the weekend paper so that we have enough time, because the Tri-County only runs 3 days a week now, so I need to be able to get it to them tomorrow at some point so that we can get it legally advertised before the date of the meeting.
Yeah, so I think it should be decided right now. It's a good point,
Okay,
Rose.
great.
The time, it should just be decided right now so we don't hold up the advertising.
How about Monday at 7 o'clock?
That
Sounds
would be
good,
great for
Ethan.
me.
With me.
Good.
Yep.
Works for me.
That's
Okay.
good.
Good.
And one last thing that
Thank
I
you.
will add, not only pertaining to this document, but in others that I've read about the health and safety plans, is that they're somewhat a fluid document and subject to change based upon the recommendations. So there may be updates to this and whatever we put in place moving forward as a result of what comes out. So we may have to do this a few times.
Okay, so we'll look forward to that meeting Monday at 7, and that will be quick, and that way we'll have all our questions answered. Is there any other business at this time?
No, Bernice, thank you.
Okay, anything, Matt? Okay, so then we have our future meetings. We have a July board meeting at 6 with the administration. That was our monthly regular meeting. And then for August at 7 o'clock, we don't have a date for that one yet. We did have a meeting via Zoom on May 13th. And we also had a meeting May 20th for the adoption of the fiscal year tentative budget and general purposes via Zoom. And then June 3rd, we had our work session with an executive session for personnel and safety. Can I have a motion for adjournment, please?
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay, second, thank you. Okay, Mr. Hoke, meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.